Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Lady Takeko Kujo and BWA Late Members Memorial Service, and a special welcome to those of you joining us for the first time. We will begin with the ringing of the kansho, followed by the chanting of Sambutsuge. That'll be on page 79 in your purple book, or you can follow along on the screen.
덕무력 극근권 新道大仙願がサブ大正法華道生寺未不下脱不正上位精進女部三昧知恵以上五世特部不行志願一切福一切大安慶始有無百千億万無量大小修行五弱用一切使徒書物不尿具道検証不逆非尿五弱世界無不影無修説の光明師匠天使諸国上部生寺偉人南両両が三部国土第一五種奇妙上超絶国女内四二無闘争加藤愛美到達一切実法来所新熱症状意図学校経絡安穏鉱物神妙心象発願の日力少所欲実法生存知恵無下上量思想知が信用計量心思徳読中他行生寺人寿不敬ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブがにしくどく平等性一切道本菩提心往生安楽国 Namandas, 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 namandas.
Now, if I can ask the children to come up and do Oshoko and then go to the Kaikan. Okay, now, if we will have the reading of Three Treasures and Sankyemon.
Please join me in reading the three treasures. Hard it is to receive a human form, now we have received it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma, now we hear it. If we do not receive awakening in this life, in what life shall we do so? Let us reverently take refuge together in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. Together with all beings, may we attain the great way of enlightenment, awakening to the supreme intent of the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. Together with all beings, may we enter the storehouse of Dharma, acquiring wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. Together with all beings, may we become united as a great assembly, being free of all bondage. Hard is it to encounter the supreme, profound, and wondrous Dharma, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us truly understand the true intent of the Tathagata. Namo Amida Butsu, Namman Dao. 来三門、人参受けがたし、今すでに行く。仏法聞きがたし、今すでに聞く。好み根性に向かってどせずんば、さらにいずれの章に向かってか好みをどせん。大衆もろともに、指針に三方に帰依し、立て祀るべし。自ら仏に帰依し、立て祀る。まさに願わくば、主情とともに、大道を体現して無常意を起こさん。自ら法に帰依し立て祀る。まさに願わくは主情とともに、深く共造に入りて知恵海のごとくならん。自ら僧に帰依し立て祀る。まさに願わくば主情とともに、大衆を通りして一切無下ならん。無常人人未明の本は、百千万号にも愛用ことかたし、我今検問し受持することを得たり、願わくは如来の真実義を下し立て祀らん。何万だつ、何万だつ、何万だつ、何万。
So now I would like to introduce our guest speaker. His name is Reverend Dr. Jean-Paul Contreras de Guzman, or Reverend JP for short. So Reverend JP is a minister's assistant at the San Fernando Valley Honganji Buddhist Temple, where he has taught Dharma School, Introduction to Buddhism, and a workshop on improv comedy and Buddhism. His day job consists of teaching history at the Windward School and is a co-advisor for the Asian American Affinity Group. He is also a part-time lecturer at UCLA, where he completed his PhD and earned the University Distinguished Teaching Award. Last year, he brought several UCLA students in his American Buddhism class to the West LA Buddhist Temple. Reverend JP has written about the history of American Buddhism and the Dharma of daily life in publications such as Lion's Roar, The Wheel of Dharma, the Young Buddhist Editorial, Everyday Buddhist, the Oxford Research Encyclopedia of Religion, and the anthology Religion in Los Angeles. A lifelong Angelino, he lives in North Hollywood with his wife Beatrice, and they were married in March 2020, 2 weeks after the pandemic. Glad you're here. And now, Reverend JP.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, Connie, for that wonderful, scintillating biography that I wrote myself. So many lessons in challenging our ego. So anyway, if we can pull up my screen, would that be possible? Perfect. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share my appreciation and understanding of the Dharma with all of you today. I am very grateful for the very kind invitation from Takata Sensei, from Umezu Sensei, and all of you to join your lovely Sangha. I am very heartened and saddened at the same time, given the circumstances that we're living in, and I offer my deepest hopes for peace and comfort for anyone here who has been affected by the fires. As Connie mentioned, I teach just up the block at Windward School, and our community has been devastated because so many of our students and staff live in the Palisades. But as we felt great sadness, I have also been honored to witness great compassion working through the hands and hearts of so many to be there for those who are in need. I truly hope that if you celebrate the Lunar New Year, that the Year of the Snake will bring us all brighter days. And it is truly a great honor for me to return to West LA Buddhist Temple, even though I'm a member of the San Fernando Valley Buddhist Temple, which is just up the 405, which is 20 minutes like on a good day and an hour every other day. I'm actually grateful that my karmic ties have connected me to your Sangha and your ministers for years. Actually, back in 2019, I actually first came here when your Sangha very generously hosted the Techno Buddha pop-up back in the before times in September 2019. You could see me lurking in the back, ironically standing quite far away from my then fiance, now wife, who's actually right up in the front. But that was a very wonderful experience. And I remember actually sitting right there listening to a Dharma message from Usuki Sensei. Just a few months later, I attended my very first minister's assistant training program where I met Umezu Sensei for the first time. And as my senpai, she was very, very helpful and kind and generous in giving me all sorts of advice as I went on to ordination in our tradition, which is known as Tokudo. And most recently, I was very grateful that Umezu Sensei very graciously opened your temple doors to my students from UCLA who were taking a class on American Buddhism. And if you might remember, if you follow the news, it was pretty wild at UCLA last spring. Very volatile, very challenging, what with the encampments, the protests, and the counter-protests. And so visiting your temple actually brought a lot of peace to an otherwise very tumultuous quarter. The students, there was only a few students, but they were really, really excited. They asked Umezu Sensei lots of questions. They were very intrigued by all sorts of aspects of the Hondo. They asked really wonderful questions about, for example, why we Oshoko. And they really just kind of felt the warmth and the history of your Sangha. And so I'm very grateful for that opportunity. Also, if any of you happen to live in Sawtell, I'll use this as an opportunity to deeply apologize to you, because even though there were only 15 students, for whatever reason, UCLA Transportation arranged for an entire Bruin bus to bring us, so I apologize that had to pollute your neighborhood. It was awkward. It was very awkward. If I ever bring the students back, I think we'll just take like a regular city bus or a Lyft or something. So anyway, that's my Dharma talk. No, it's not. That's just, it's a joke. So my talk actually today is one in honor of Lady Takeko Kujo and our departed members of the Buddhist Women's Association. To calm our minds, to get us in the mode of reflection, please join me with your palms together as I read aloud these words from the founder of our tradition, Shinran Shonin, who wrote in the Pure Land hymns on the right semblance and last Dharma ages. People who truly realize Shinjin, which is directed to them through Amida's vow of wisdom, receive the benefit of being grasped, never to be abandoned. Hence, they attain the stage equal to perfect enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandavs, 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 Namandavs. So once again, I'm very honored to join all of you today to share my appreciation for our Shin Buddhist teachings in a talk entitled The Dharma of the BWA. I actually found this really beautiful photograph of the West LA Buddhist Temple Fujinkai from 1965 on your Facebook page, and I can only imagine the really abundant and rich stories and life experiences that these strong women had to share. And I myself have learned many, many lessons from the San Fernando Valley Buddhist Women's Association, and truly they've been instrumental in shaping my experience of the Dharma. Indeed, seeing the BWA ladies in action and hearing about how they have been the metaphorical backbone of our temple, of your temple, and basically every temple in the Buddhist churches of America for over 125 years has helped me grapple with a question that used to plague me when I first started coming to the San Fernando Valley Honganji Buddhist Temple about a dozen years ago. I was not actually born Buddhist. I was not born into this tradition. But it was seeing the BWA women who helped me grapple with this question. Is Buddhism for privileged people, right? So as a newcomer to Buddhism, I felt the teachings very nourishing when confronting the daily stresses of life, right? The drudgery of Los Angeles traffic, catching a cold from your students, being ignored by a waiter, listening to the coworker that will never stop complaining, right? So the teachings, hearing the message about putting aside the small stuff, to awaken to the ways in which an infinite web of all life supports us, that was the shock absorbers that I needed and assuredly still need. But as I sat in the very comfortable, air-conditioned, heated Hondo, as I sat gazing upon a spectacularly gilded onaijin, grasping my, little white envelope to donate after I oshoko, I asked myself, how could a teaching of letting go help in those situations far more dire than mine, far more dire than the DoorDasher who forgot to pick up my order of fries, right? How could I tell someone facing the ravages of cancer that something called Amida Buddha has grasped them? How could I tell someone facing financial precarity, unsure about the source of their next meal, that all life supports them? Even now, I struggle to think, how can I tell someone who lost their homes in the fire that they are bathed in infinite wisdom and compassion? It just felt so inauthentic to me. But over time, I came to learn that those are not necessarily the most productive questions. I've learned over the years that one of the benefits of a Shin Buddhist life is becoming a part of a Sangha, a community whose loving care and compassion connects us to infinite individuals across time and space. And as I became more involved with my Sangha, and heard Sangha members share over post-service meals or shifts preparing for Obon, or even quiet moments before a Shotsuki memorial, hearing the stories about how their families and loved ones were inseparable from the temple. I saw these stories in fading black and white or Kodachrome photographs affixed to the back walls of the social hall. I saw these photos, I heard these stories in bulging photo albums, or scanned that so future generations and newcomers like me could learn of this storied past. I sat in awe of stories of people who took out mortgages to finance the construction of temple buildings. I heard of families who joyfully, happily donated to the temple for special occasions like graduations, but even the mundane, like giving a donation because they returned safely from a trip. And I learned that these were the people who survived the indignities of exclusionary property laws, immigration restriction, and most tragically, the forced removal and mass incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II and the afterlives of that experience. In one fell swoop, all that was normal, all that was good, melted into thin air. And central to these stories was the continuity of the BWA, the continuity of the Buddhist women of the Sangha. Through their diligent efforts, they kept the entire Sangha nourished, not only through their egg salad sandwiches and inari sushi and chirashi, but through the spirit of interdependence in staging countless fundraisers, countless events, countless scholarships, and more, all bound by an abiding commitment to giving tirelessly, giving generously, and embodying the spirit of dana or selfless giving. In a world that may have seen them as perpetual foreigners because of the color of their skin, in a world and even a community that may have devalued their labor precisely because they were women, they persevered because, in fact, they were the foundation that allowed the Buddha Dharma to flourish on these sometimes hostile shores. And how did they do it? How did they do it? I'd like to think it was the teachings of that dynamic activity of all life, past, present, and future, in an ineffable web, which we may call great compassion, which we may call infinite light and life, which we may call Amida Buddha, that calls out and supports all sentient beings. It was that which sustained them through harsh shores in ways that we may never fully understand. These snapshots of BWA members of the distant past emanated a joy of people who treated each obon, each service, each meal, and possibly each day as a precious gift. I'm sure that they grappled with their daily frustrations, with their sadness, with their despair, and their loss. Yet the Dharma called out to them, allowing them to define themselves by what was there all along and not what was missing or what was taken away. Now, we will never know. We'll never know if those elders definitively were, quote unquote, persons who realized true Shinjin, to quote from the opening passage. Nor would they likely call themselves that. However, if I understand the teachings correctly, what I hear from their stories is that the dynamic activity of Amida Buddha's primal vow, that Shinran referenced to liberate all sentient beings, regardless of age, gender, sexuality, color, ability, language, regardless of any of those, in order to break free from the shackles of our blind passions, our greed, our anger, our stupidity. And you're looking at a guy who has a lot of them. It allowed them to experience that Shinjin. It allowed them to experience that heart that entrusts that we will be well, thanks to innumerable causes and conditions embodied in the figure, in the spirit of Amida. These were people who may not have known the intricacies of Jodo Shinshu doctrine, just like me, but they perhaps are our greatest teachers when we learn from the lives that they lived, coming to understand the awe that we feel when we live a life of gratitude, a life of Nembutsu. To borrow a line from Professor Greg Robinson's study of Japanese Americans, when I first heard stories about the BWA ladies, I basically thought they were the great unknown. I had no clue who they were. There was just a lot of them. There was a lot of ladies who I knew nothing about. But little did I know, after actually learning about their deep commitment to the Dharma, their deep commitment to ensuring that generations of newcomers, generations of lifelong Buddhists will be able to hear the Dharma, I learned that these people were not the great unknown, they were the unknown great. Truly, the unknown great. They were able to live meaningful lives, fulfilling lives, giving back so much to the Sangha, cognizant of what they had received. And in that sense, they lived a life confident in feeling that they indeed had been grasped, never to be abandoned by great compassion. Or perhaps they awoke to the timeless reality that Lady Kujo wrote about when she recalled in one of her tender poems, quote, "Splendor of an evening sky. Who can ever fathom its timeless mystery? Millions of eyes, when sparkling bright in the sable sky, touch my heart. My lonely heart with serenity. More than the countless sands of the Ganges River holds are the infinite Buddhas who fill this universe, ever watchful over us throughout day and night. Hearing this, my lonely heart fills with peace." And so this brings me back to my initial and perhaps very foolish question. Is Buddhism for privileged people? Of course it's not. The Buddha Dharma is a universal teaching, a non-discriminating teaching, and the stories of the lives who made my sense of comfort possible are a testament to that reality. It is not for me to tell others how to live their life in accordance with what I think the teachings are, but rather to show my appreciation for the Dharma, which has been cultivated indelibly by gaining a glimpse into our elders, our collective ancestors, who settled in a harsh land and still planted seeds whose blossoms are all around us today. And so as we go forward and reflect on both the comforts of our lives and the challenges, may we hold dear Shinran's words and look to our elders who embodied them. Please, my new West LA pals, join me in reflection of these words once again from Shinran. Gasho, persons who truly realize Shinjin, which is directed to them through Amida's vow of wisdom, receive the benefit of being grasped, never to be abandoned. Hence, they attain the stage equal to perfect enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabs, 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 namandabs. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Reverend JP, for your Dharma message this morning. Now I'd like to call Reverend Takata for a short Japanese message.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for attending today's service. I'd like to deliver a short Japanese message for Japanese-speaking members. So, would you please join me in 合唱。安楽浄土に至る人、五辱悪世に帰りては、釈迦牟尼仏のごとくにて、利益史上は極もなしと何万打仏な。皆様、おはようございます。今日は九条武子様のご命日ということでお参りさせていただいております。で、九条武子様は親鸞上人から数えて第21代目のご門師様の娘さんです。で、妙如上人というのは仏教浄土真宗をアメリカに伝えられた人ということで、この、別院西本願寺とかに行くとこの聖徳太子の代わりにですね、 明女上人の護衛を飾っておられるお寺もあります。でこの方は42歳で亡くなられるわけですが、自分の若い時からですね、仏教婦人会を創設したり、で関東、東京でアースクエイクですね、震災があった時も先頭に立っていろいろとされた方です。でこの方が42歳でお亡くなりになるんですけど、ちょうど2月7日、She passed away at the age of 42 on February 7th. On the day, his brother visited 九条武子、レディ九条武子、ビジットして、その時に九条武子 asked his brother to deliver the Dharma message. 最後にご法話をくださいと。その時にお兄さんがhe delivered the Dharma message to her own sister. で、お話しされるわけですが、最後にですね、九条武子さんは何と言われたかと言いますと、また来ます。I'll be back to this land というふうに言われたんですね。で私たちは命を得たら、ここにお内陣がありますけど、will be born into the pure land, but we return to this defiled land to guide all sentient beings. そう今ね、震災で皆さん大変ですけど、私たちの慈しみの心では思うばかりだって完全に助けることはできないですけど、仏様となってこの世に帰ってきて、そしてあらゆる衆生を救う、これが阿弥陀仏の願いでございます。毎日の日暮らしの中でこの仏様の願いをお聞かせいただきながら、お念仏の日暮らしをしていただきたいと思います。本日はようこそのお参りでございました。どうぞ合唱してください。ナモ阿弥陀仏、南無陀仏、南無陀仏、南無。
Thank you, Sensei. Now, if you could follow along with the reading of Ryogemon.
Please join me in reading the Ryogemon by Master Renyo. We rely upon Amida Buddha with our whole heart for the enlightenment in the life to come, abstaining from all sundry practices and teachings, and giving up the trust in our imperfect view. There is no doubt that the assurance of enlightenment comes at the very moment we enter us, and we recite the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, in joy and gratitude for the Buddha's compassion. We also acknowledge gratefully the benign benevolence of our founder and succeeding masters who have led us to live in this profound teaching, and we do not endeavor to follow throughout our lives the way laid down for us. 両下出言、もろもろの同業脱出自力の心を振り捨てて、一心に阿弥陀如来、我らが今度の一大事の御所、御助け総来と頼み申して候。頼む一年の時、往生一条御助け事情と存じ、この上の称名はご恩報者と存じ、喜び申し候。この恩断り弔問申し上げ候こと、ご解散承認ご出世のご恩、次第僧正の全知識の朝からざるご関係のご恩と、ありがたく存じ候。この上は定めおかせらるる恩をきて、一号限り守り申すべく候。南無陀仏、南無陀仏、南無陀仏。
Okay, now it's time for announcements. First, the BCA, or Buddhist Churches of America Social Welfare Committee, they're sponsoring the Southern California wildfire relief. And they're asking for, for donations. You can either donate via mailing in your check, or online. And by the way, everything that I'm reading today, it can be found on the board behind you, all of the flyers. On February the 16th, we will be having our Nirvana Day Buddha's memorial service. at 10 o'clock. And our guest speaker on that day is Reverend Hibiki Murakami, and he is the Associate Minister of the Los Angeles Honpa Honganji Buddhist Temple. We have this, it's called A Promised Share. And on February the 22nd at from 1 to 4, which is a Saturday, there's going to be a virtual public workshop. February 23rd from 11:30 to 1, there's a BCA town hall featuring Bishop Reverend Marvin Harada. And then on March the 2nd, we will not be having service here because of the BCA Eitaikyo service, and also the National Council meeting closing program. So please do not come here on the 2nd. We have several classes that we offer. First one is on Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. via Zoom. It's entitled, What is the Jodo Shinshu Teaching? That is led by Reverend Takata. Suggested fee is $40. And the next session is on February the 5th. And for those that can't attend Wednesdays, he also has a Saturday morning from 11 to 12, also via Zoom. And the next one is on February the 15th. Now, if you saw today, we had the children. We have our monthly Dharma Kids program, and that is the first Sunday of every month. So the next one is on March the 9th. Reverend Umezu has a monthly Shoshinge chanting service, followed by Buddhism Beyond Mindfulness. And this year, the theme is Life on the Buddhist Path. And so her next session is on February the 8th. Chanting service starts at 10, and the discussion is at 11. And once a month, we have Sunday matinees, Dharma, and a movie with popcorn. And the next one is on February the 23rd, and we don't know what the movie is yet, but I'm sure it's going to be enjoyable. Also once a month, every third Friday of the month, we have bingo at the temple, which starts at 7 o'clock. And it's all cash prizes, so if you have nothing better to do, please join us for bingo. We have people usually bring a lot of snacks, and we offer water and tea. It's a lot of fun. Also, the temple has some apparel we offer. First one, so if you want to see in person here, look here. This is a temple t-shirt with our logo, and we have two styles, crew neck and a v-neck, and they run $20 each. And then we have a brand new happy coat, also with our temple logo, and then in the front in Japanese it'll say the West LA Buddhist Temple. So if you're a member, these run $80 each, and for non-members they are $95 each, and they're made out of cotton, very durable. So with that, that concludes our service for today. And again, thank you all for coming, and I'd like to turn this over to Sensei.
Oh, good morning, everyone. As you can see, the Buddha statue and all scrolls came back to the home. On January 7th, when the fire broke out, we moved everything to a safer place. But last Wednesday, they all came back, so I'm very glad. And please offer the incense, and if you have any questions, please come forward. This concludes the service, so would you please join me in a show? Namo Amida Butsu, Namman Dautsu, Namman Dautsu, Namman Dautsu. Thank you very much.
Also, I'd like to say that we do have donuts and drinks in the social hall, so please join us for snacks.